see, I believe that one of the most popular misconceptions that salespeople have is that the close part of the process is probably the hardest. The hardest thing to do is to close. When in all reality, closing in itself is just part of the process. It should not be the hardest part. You see, I think that if we understood that it's not the close that is the hardest part, it's actually getting the prospect up to a climatic state, and I hope that's a word, a climatic state to a point where they feel it emotionally. Now let me explain. You see, there's a process to every sales cycle. It's kind of like sexual intercourse, right? In order to reach a climax, you got to go through certain things. You can't just necessarily start and then you're immediately in climax. You know what I mean? So if you really break it down, there's a process. In some cases, of course, you would call it foreplay. Well, sales in essence is kind of like that. Like the foreplay part of it is just kind of extracting out the emotional peaks, right? How do I get you there? How do I make you juicy? You see what I'm saying? How do I get you aroused? And the sales process in itself, the primary objective is to get you at a climatic state so that you're ready. You see what I'm saying? Like you're ready to burst. And if you think about it that way, as weird as it sounds, it kind of makes sense, because in order to kind of get the prospect to give you their all in, right, you got to finesse them. And so where I think a lot of salesmen have this misconception is that the close in itself, we'll just call it the bust, is the hardest part, because you got to work to get there. In some cases, some of y'all, it's not the hardest part. But in the sales aspect, in order for them to give you their agreement, to give you their commitment, they have to first reach that climatic state. And so then the question is, okay, well, D, how do I get them to that climatic state? Well, there's a couple steps within the process in order to even get them to that climatic state. And that involves, first off, them giving you their attention. Much like when we're courting or we're trying to find that partner, we can't necessarily get them unless we have their attention, right? But when you get their attention, does that mean that you give them all your full attention? Like you're all over them? Like you're dry humping their leg? No, right? You almost got to act as if you don't really care that you got their attention. And that's where the consultant versus salesman aspect comes in. You see, a consultant is not necessarily going to give you their full attention like they're trying to sell you on something. A consultant is a professional. A consultant understands that what they have, you need. You get it? And so that inner confidence separates them from salesmen. But nonetheless, you still need that person's attention. So you're getting the attention first by marketing, whether it's telemarketing, outbound calls, inbound calls, internet marketing, whatever it is, right? Somehow you got a piece of their attention. And then the next step is that you need to capture their confidence. And the only reason why you want their confidence first is because initially when they give you their attention, us as humans, we're trying to decipher whether or not to give more attention. It's kind of like when we watch TV shows or when we watch movies or we watch previews or we watch videos or we listen to music. We're trying to immediately identify whether or not this is worth more attention. And so we got to think about, even in courting, right? Like, so you get a little bit of attention, you kind of assess the situation, and you try to decipher whether or not you should give more attention. So we're naturally wired this way. And reason why we need to attain confidence first is because confidence is basically the prospect saying, okay, I'm gonna give you more attention. What do you got? It's almost like curiosity, interest.